Well, there you have it, a very interesting grid indeed. Barrichello, a well-deserved pole position alongside him, Ralf Schumacher. Michael, his brother, in the second row along Montoya. So if that's not an aggro first couple of rows, I don't know what is. Nick Heinfeld, terrific effort to get up into that position. Raikkonen outdoing Coulthard again. Massa, Coulthard, as I said, Panis, Salo, Frentzen, Benoldi, Button, McNeish, Fisichella, Trulli, Villeneuve, Sato, De La Rosa, Irvine, Webber and Jung. And this time Jung some 1 second behind Mark Webber, but in with the 107% at what am I looking at? Yeah, making the grid. So at least he got in fair and square.
Now, there's a lot of points of interest around. Once again, 3 Aussies are in action over the weekend. Yesterday, Rob Nguyen recorded his best result yet, finishing 9th in the Formula 3000 race. Rob qualified 12th, but capitalised on his experience at the circuit and put in a good race to get into the top 10. Not such a good weekend for Ryan Briscoe, however. After qualifying 16th, he finished 17th. Racing tonight is James Courtney, who has again had 2 pole positions for the British Formula 3 races at Knock Hill. He hasn't been able to turn that into race results. He
hasn't been capitalising on his great performances, that is for sure, and he's lost the lead of the championship because of it. But Ning, he's going fantastic.
He is.
Talk about a quiet achiever. I mean, exactly. No one had heard of him 12 months ago.
Very good, isn't it? Good news, of course, as you know, Rubens Barrichello during the week has confirmed as Michael Schumacher's teammate through to 2004. As always, the first big signing of the year kicks off wild speculation about how the other aces of the Formula 1 puzzle, or pieces I should say, fall into place. The current rumour, Takuma Sato could go to BAR at the expense of Jacques Villeneuve as Honda focus their efforts on one team. Now, where would Jacques go?
I don't really know, to be honest. I really don't. It just depends on who else leaves or retires or leaves a spot open. But if Honda are going to concentrate on one team, they probably would do it with BAR, and they probably would insist that Sato would be one of the drivers.
You'd hope that Villeneuve would get a decent drive. I mean, he's languished for that team for so long, and he's such a talent.
Well, I still maintain if you put him in a very competitive car, he'd be a front runner. There's no question about that. He's very talented, very aggressive, and he's still got the motivation. And I would love to see him in a very competitive car.
A lot of news about the costs of Formula 1. We've got a nice piece at the end of the Grand Prix for you to bring you up to date on that. But Formula 1 costs are also well in the news, with team owners having a pleasant, if relatively unproductive, meeting in Austria. There is some speculation the FIA wants to offer teams the ability to test on Grand Prix weekends, which would provide a lower cost alternative to the holding of separate tests.
Well, I mean, you're always going to get them going off and testing. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know how that'd work, to be honest. But you know, there's all sorts of rumours going around. We hear that Minardi, for instance, is going out the back door to the tune of $2 million a week. And there's Jordan, you know, but then Nicky came out and slashed them all during the week and said that maybe he shouldn't spend so much money on the private jets and the luxury yachts and put a bit more back into it. I mean, he doesn't hold back, Nicky. He did let go with a few of them.
Finally, to celebrate Mother's Day, organisers at the A1-Ring extended a special invitation to the drivers' mums to attend the race. 13 accepted, including Mrs Villeneuve, Mrs Montoya, as well as both mums from Arrows, Jaguar, Toyota and Sauber. Now, we will have an in-pit segment for you after the race. That's around all about Formula 1 costs. But right now, we'll take you straight over to James Allen and Martin Brundle. Enjoy the race.
Terrific performance by Heidfeld and Massa, his teammate as well. And there, Rubens Barrichello. Can he get his second victory in 151 Grand Prix starts? The arrows are well up as well. Mika Salo in the Toyota is in the top 10. A lot to play for from front to back of the grid here at the A1-Ring in Austria. We're waiting for Alex Jung to form up on the back of the grid. He's there now. You know the drill, folks. You get 5 lights, and when they go off, we'll be rocking and rolling in the Styrian mountains. The revs are rising now. You ready? You ready? You ready? Go! A terrific start by Ralf Schumacher, but Rubens is away well as 2. Oh, Brendan, look at that. Amazing. Michael Schumacher is alongside Ralf. He's squeezing him out. Rubens takes a wide line into turn 1. Michael Schumacher is ahead of his brother, and one of the Saubers is up well as well. And we've got another Sauber onto the grass, but Michael Schumacher away like a rocket ship.
Unbelievable start, great stuff. Everybody's through that first corner, nice and clean, but there could be some issues here coming into turn 2. A lot of the guys at the back of the grid especially are running on light tanks of fuel.
Well, what's happening with Ralf Schumacher? He's gone from 2nd to 4th, and we've got contact there. One of the arrows, it looks like Jacques Villeneuve has hit Heinz Harald Frentzen. And that's really bad news for the Arrows, who were going very strongly in qualifying yesterday and looking for another point to follow up from their run in Spain. But Barrichello leading from Michael Schumacher. Heidfeld is third, Ralf Schumacher fourth, Montoya fifth, Raikkonen up to sixth, Coulthard up to seventh. So a good start from both of the McLaren drivers.
Yeah, now we're just calming down slightly here. The two Ferraris already taking a commanding lead, probably about a second and a half. A little bit of action there. Looks like Jenson Button at that point trying to get up the inside of Nick Heidfeld. But we're coming into the A1-Ring curve and everything's smooth.
I think it's Massa he was attacking. That's a battle for 9th place, and they've swapped places twice now, and that's Benoldi in the Arrows who's got a damaged front wing. I just saw it passing through the frame, and I'm sure he'll be diving into the pits anytime now as Rubens Barrichello comes through to complete lap one ahead of his teammate. And you have to say, Michael Schumacher does look as though he's on the attack, no question about that. Heidfeld third, Ralf Schumacher fourth, and that's a touring Pedro de la Rosa in the Jaguar, so some damage obviously to his car as well.
Yeah, Jaguar having a torrid time. Already one of their guys slowing up. Looks like they're out. But interestingly now, I want to see what the pace is of the McLaren guys. Anticipating that they're going to run at least up to 45 laps or so in their first stint. Some of the guys in front might peel off a little bit earlier and want to see whether they're going to make up any road track time and gain position, and see whether some people behind make anything of that as well.
Well, Rubens Barrichello just sliding past that stricken Jaguar there, and he's really responding to the challenge from his teammate. He set a very fast first sector and the second sector as well, but Michael Schumacher is just 4/10 of a second behind him in his wheel tracks, and we were hearing before the off mark about the possibility one or both of these Ferraris might try a two-stop strategy today. I mean, clearly they have a performance advantage. We've seen that so far this season, but do you see either of them doing a two-stop at the moment?
Personally, James, I don't. I actually see the Ferraris going for one stop. I think their performance on the racetrack is far superior to most people at this point, and I'd be very surprised if they do two stops, but you know, we've been proved wrong in the past.
Well, every 10 kilos of fuel is worth just under 3/10 of a second a lap around this circuit, so the difference between a two-stop and a one-stop load as Benoldi comes in indeed to replace that front wing is just under a second a lap, so we should very quickly see who is carrying the lighter fuel load. The two Williamses seem so slow, don't they, coming out of that corner. Ralf Schumacher picking that big, heavy car up and launching it down the straight.
Already Rubens Barrichello putting in the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 12.4, somewhat off what they did from warm-up this morning. He managed to do a 10.8, but there's plenty of action with the McLarens fighting each other. That may slow them down. They really need to concentrate and getting further up the field and fighting the other guys, but it's always a bit of a worry for the team owners to see those teammates fighting it out on the racetrack.
Well, Coulthard has got in front of Raikkonen, so that's Raikkonen trying to get back at him. You see the Scot with the Saltaire, the Scottish flag on his helmet, as that's the second Jaguar touring in now. I'm not quite sure. De La Rosa has already stopped out on the track. I believe that's Eddie Irvine going slowly. We believe the Jaguar has a throttle problem, and that's the Arrows of Enrique Benoldi, qualified so strongly in 12th place, and a real shame for him still yet to finish a Grand Prix in 2002 after 6 Grand Prix.
Rubens Barrichello has really got the hammer down there, and he's got 2 sectors already completed of this lap, and he's probably going to push himself another 3 or 4 attempts away from Michael Schumacher.
This is lap 4 as Pedro de la Rosa climbs out of his Jaguar, and Eddie Irvine is still running, so that was de la Rosa we were looking at just touring, and that's him pulling to a stop. Barrichello leads on lap 4 by 1.1 second from Michael Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher is third, 4th is Montoya, 5th Heidfeld, 6th Coulthard, as we take a look at the start again, Mark.
Very clean start. Michael Schumacher exceptional off the line. The guy's a little bit concerned in the middle of the grid there. Inside comes Villeneuve up behind as well, coming into the first turn, creates a little bit of a braking issue for most of the guys, but they all get through clean, amazingly so. I thought there'd be some more issues with that outside racetrack there, but Heidfeld is actually coming up very strong. Massa gets blocked off behind him, and he's the guy who makes the most of the first corner. Just goes around the outside, nice and clean. He pulled off the best start of that.
On board with Juan Montoya in 4th place on the grid, and you can see what happened at the start. It was a decent start by Barrichello, but just look how well Michael got away on the outside on the left there. And this is Nick Heidfeld coming in on our left as we approach the top, and Montoya lost 2 places, make that 3 places into turn 1. You can see Raikkonen running wide, so Montoya was able to recover, and that's a great bird's-eye view of the start of this race.
That's a very smart move by Montoya, actually, James. He anticipated what was going to go on for that first turn. He knew the guys were going to go in deep and try and use the extra racetrack. Got out of it early, just tucked up the inside of them.
And you can see Villeneuve being very ambitious into turn 2 and just biffing the side of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Villeneuve now 14th, Frentzen down to 18th place.
Yeah, I think also that Coulthard move on Kimi Raikkonen was made maybe at that corner. He definitely got up the inside of him and probably carried it all the way down the straight.
So, as we work on lap 5, the winners and losers. Michael Schumacher up 2 places, Ralf Schumacher down 2 places, Felipe Massa down 3 places, Coulthard up 2, and Jenson Button up 4 places, now in 9th place in this race on lap 5.
Just thinking back over last year, Villeneuve had a very similar incident to that in the Grand Prix here. You remember with Irvine, the little touch. So yet again, he's back in the wars. Just going to see if he can pick that up and get further up the field.
Well, the Toyota of Mika Salo is still in the field as well, in the top 10, in 8th place, just behind the 2 McLarens. There's very little to choose between 5th place. There is the train, you can see it, Salo there going through frame, Button, Massa having dropped down to 10th place. So a terrific scrap behind 5th place, Nick Heidfeld. And all to play for there in the points-paying stakes, but fastest lap, as you'd imagine, as all the fuel starts to burn off to Rubens Barrichello, and someone either off or blown up there. It's one of the McLarens, I believe.
Looks
Indeed
like
it is. It's Kimi Raikkonen.
Kimi Raikkonen, that's a big blow for them. They very much anticipate the reliability was there. Didn't want to foresee any problems from warm-up. Everything looked good, but engine problems it looks like at this point.
That's his 4th retirement of the season and his 3rd in a row. So Raikkonen really not getting the points, getting the results. And you have to say it really isn't his fault, because that car has let him down clearly. Running across the road, out of harm's way. So that promotes everybody behind him. Let's have a look at that.
Yeah, it's very clearly an engine blow-up. It's let go in the biggest possible way, plume of smoke. Nothing you can do about that as a race car driver. Just flick the thing off, dip the clutch, and get out.
At the front, 7 laps into this race, Rubens Barrichello, as a photographer, gets a lungful of Mercedes parts. Rubens Barrichello 7/10 of a second up on his teammate Michael Schumacher. And what are these 2 drivers going to do this afternoon? What's the strategy? Are there any orders, more importantly, between the 2? Does Rubens have to let Michael win? Certainly he's suggested in the past, hasn't he, Mark, that if he's in a winning position, the team will not ask him to move over. It's only if he's in 2nd, 3rd or whatever, that, as he was here last year, he'd be asked to move over.
Well, I think, James, at this point, Rubens has been king of the castle. He's been fastest for pole position. He was fastest in warm-up. There's no reason, especially with the points lead that Schumacher has, that they need to have team orders. I think it'd be very pleasing to a lot concerned to see Rubens cross that line first.
This is the scrap then going on for the places 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mika Salo, you can see, that's Felipe Massa having all sorts of problems there. Looks like one of his wheels has come loose. Yeah,
he's lost some suspension damage there. I think maybe Fisichella may have even touched him, because he was on his backside going into that turn, and he's definitely made the move on the inside of it. But Massa has got suspension breakage by the looks of it.
Yeah, well, Massa was 9th, Fisichella was 10th, so whether there was contact, hopefully we'll find out from our F1 ITV pit crew. But he's looking to have to dive into the pit lane here, Felipe Massa. I don't know if that car is going to be repairable. Certainly, if it's a suspension breakage, it will not be. It doesn't look like a puncture, does it? Barrichello leads, though, on lap 8. Michael Schumacher still just 7/10 of a second behind. He's shadowing his teammate. The Brazilian has been faster than him all weekend. And on race day, Michael Schumacher said yesterday he would pull something special out. But at the moment, he's just playing a watching game as the Sauber comes in. Let's see what work they do to it.
I think it possibly looks like maybe a toe link or something, because that right rear looks like it was towing out, even the left rear at that stage as well. Yeah, it's got some issues, up and down suspension. Mechanics know what's wrong. I foresee it's out.
Yes, you can see them just tugging away at it. It does look very loose. That's Willy Ramp there, who's done so much for Sauber to make them competitive in the left-hand side of your screen, saying, no, that's it. It's not safe. Let's put this car in the garage and focus on car number, our 5th place car of Nick Heidfeld. There you can see again, that car, it's the left rear suspension just really letting go through that corner. Rubens Barrichello, though, continuing to put the hammer down, a 1 minute 10.218. That's a blistering pace from Rubens Barrichello. 0.2 of a second faster than his teammate. He's trying to put some air between himself and Michael Schumacher. He desperately wants to win this race. After all, he's not been too lucky so far in the points in this year's championship, still only on 6 points, and he needs to get a big score here this afternoon.
Definitely got the hammer down, James. He's 0.8 quicker than what they achieved in the warm-up this morning, But again, is he going to run a two-stop or is he on a one-stop? It looks like the way he's pushing, he may be going for the two-stop, but I will be very, very surprised.
Well, you have to say, as Felipe Massa there walks into the garage, gave a very warm handshake to his friend and fellow Brazilian Rubens Barrichello on the grid. Those two Ferraris are now 13 seconds clear of Ralf Schumacher in third place, and we're only on lap 10, and I don't think that kind of pace, even though Ferrari have been very competitive, they must be running a slightly different fuel strategy from the rest. This is lap 10 though, Barrichello and Michael Schumacher out front. Ralf Schumacher still third, Montoya still fourth, fifth is Heidfeld, and sixth is David Coulthard.
Just before we go back to our commentators, I'd like to apologise, though, through to Martin Brundle. Martin Brundle's on duties for Le Mans in the sports car division, and he's driving either testing or whatever over that weekend. Mark Blundell is the co-commentator tonight, so my apologies for that. I'll have it die hard. Back to the boys.
With Heinz-Harald Frentzen, very briefly, recovering from incident on the first lap. He is down in 16th place and he's chasing down Eddie Irvine. That's Irvine in front of him in the Jaguar. But still leading on lap 12 is Rubens Barrichello, now 1.1 seconds ahead of his teammate Michael Schumacher. That's the most he's been so far in this Grand Prix. Ralf Schumacher still third, but he's 18.6 seconds behind the race leader. Montoya 7 seconds behind his own teammate Ralf Schumacher in fourth place. Nick Heidfeld, he's holding on strongly in fifth. Coulthard is 3 seconds behind Heidfeld in sixth. And Ted has got some news for us.
I'll tell you, James, who definitely, certainly, most absolutely is on a two-stopper this afternoon, and that's Jacques Villeneuve. He's now up into 9th position. Really, he had no choice starting from where he did on the grid. He's just done a lap in 1:11.7. That's very quick, so expect him in for the first time in about 15 laps or so.
Yeah, definitely Villeneuve looked nice and light. When he made that move on Fisichella, it was very easy earlier on in the race. And on the start, we saw that as well. He was definitely pumped up on the brakes, caused a little bit of damage at turn 2, but he's continuing on. I would say he's going to be putting some very hard laps in, but he can't have much more left on this tank of fuel.
On board again with Frentzen, pushing hard. Got a points finish last time out in Spain 2 weeks ago. And a great recovery by the Arrows technical department from a very poor start to the season. Reliability's been not terribly clever. But there are some rumours this weekend that their technical director, Mike Coughlin, is on the move, might be joining the McLaren team in the not-too-distant future. If that's true, that's a big blow to everybody at Arrows. No one was prepared to confirm it in the paddock before the race, but certainly Mike Coughlin has done an awful lot for the team. You can see that curb that Frentzen just came off, and that's what Mark was talking about at the start. The drivers, all of them, have been getting all 4 wheels right over the white line and up onto the curb throughout the weekend.
Yeah, you can just see that little bit of extra speed he carries. He gets in the slipstream of that car in front, which is Irvine in a Jaguar. Under braking makes up about a car's length. Very fast indeed.
Another look at the start. You can see the chaos down the back. A little bit of contact there between. Looks like the two Arrows actually touched. Looks like Bernaldi clipped the back of his teammate.
Yeah, definitely so. Two teammates coming together. But this is a race here. Frentzen just tagging on the back of Irvine. He's got a far superior car in terms of grip. He'll be over not too far away before overtaking him.
21 seconds now the margin between Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher in third place, and 2 seconds the margin between Barrichello and his teammate. So Michael Schumacher starting to drop off the pace a little bit of Rubens Barrichello, and Rubens really has been on fire all weekend after the confirmation of his new 2-year contract with the Ferrari team. A lot of people had been speculating that other drivers like Felipe Massa and even Giancarlo Fisichella might be in the frame for the second seat as he comes through to put a lap already on Alex Young. I'm afraid Alex Young, whose mum is here this weekend, well, she won't be enjoying seeing that, will she, so soon in the race. Lap 15. Patrick Head there walking into the pits to see what's going on with his Williams cars. But Rubens Barrichello survived all those rumours about other drivers coming along to replace him, and in fact that he might only get a 1-year deal. A 2-year deal really is a big vote of confidence in him, isn't it? It's
a huge vote of confidence and fantastic news for a driver. It gives you 2 more years of stability. It makes you work for the future there. You've got everybody pulling for you. You know that now. You've got a concentrated contract, and he can really put himself together, and it's been showing this weekend throughout. He's been so good in that car and superb. I'm very happy for the guy, but I'd love to see him pull this off.
Well, we all would. This is Heinz-Harald Frentzen still trying to find a way past Eddie Irvine. Several good battles in the field at the moment. We've got Jacques Villeneuve closing in on the back of Mika Salo. Villeneuve has just overtaken Jenson Button. So Villeneuve up into 8th place, unseen by us, but he really is on the move. This is lap 15, Frentzen looking... Well, it doesn't look as though he's going to get him into this corner, but he might have a go into turn 2.
Watch him come out here, look, uses all the road. Couple of wheels over the extra bit of curbing, just see him drag onto the back of that Jaguar here.
Well, you can hear the engine working overtime. It's a Cosworth engine. It's the same engine as there is in the back of the Jaguar in front. Arrows are the customer team for the Cosworth supply of engines, and so far this season, certainly the last couple of races, they've really been showing Jaguar up using the same power plant. Jaguar done a lot of work in the last couple of weeks on aerodynamics, hired 4 new guys to try and boost their aerodynamic package, because it's been a real letdown so far this season. And a lot of people within Jaguar, Mark, believe that if they can just get the aero package right on this car, mechanically it's quite sound. The engine clearly is very good, as we can see from the arrows. Jaguar might be able to make a bit of a step.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people do think that, but it's a matter of time, James. You know, you just can't change these things overnight. They've got the concept of the car they brought out. They're starting to add bits on. It's not making a difference they feel it should do. It's going to take a new car, new design to put things right.
Well, Villeneuve now closing in on the back of Mika Salo. Hopefully we'll catch sight. That's a spinner. That's one of the arrows. It must be Frentzen, because Benoldi is out of the race. And Frentzen obviously got a bit too close to Eddie Irvine out of that last corner. And, well, he lost it. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that.
It was quite possible that he was just putting every little bit of effort in there to try and get on the back of Irvine at that stage. And just overcooked it. We've seen that before. Here we go. Here he comes in. Actually, just looks like he runs over that curb just a little bit too much, unsettles the car, gets on the outside curbing, rear end snaps out on him. There's not much you can do at that point. You're a passenger.
The second incident of the race then for Heinz-Harald Frentzen. We saw him struggling at the start, nudged by his teammate, in contact with various other drivers, including Jacques Villeneuve. And is anger a factor here, Mark? I mean, when you've had that kind of thing happen to you on the first lap, and you thought you were really going to get a result today, you find yourself drop back into 18th place. Does anger become an area where you push too hard?
You can overdrive the car, most definitely, but in a situation like that, he's got a mistake. He's made that himself from my ends. I mean, he clipped over that curb too much, unstabilised the car, and off he goes. But he's really got to put himself back into shape, get back in his rhythm, and get on with it.
Well, the lead is now 26 seconds. Rubens Barrichello over Ralf Schumacher in 3rd place. But this is Jacques Villeneuve, and this is the battle I was talking about just a moment ago, because that's Mika Salo right in front in 7th place, and Villeneuve on a real charge. It's been a disappointing weekend so far for the French-Canadian, but he's trying to put it right this afternoon. This is the recovering Frentzen, now down again in 18th place. And that is Alex Young in front of him, and this is a move for position, even though Young has been lapped. This is Frentzen trying to get past him again. But it's interesting, that battle also between the BAR of Villeneuve and the Toyota of Salo. That's a battle between Honda and Toyota.
Most definitely, the two Japanese manufacturers. The issue there is that Villeneuve looks cleanly like he's on a two-stop strategy. He's got a fast car underneath him because of the weight, but his lap time is getting hindered because of the overall traffic problems, and that may not pay off for him. It's that balance that he needs to find.
Well, when we talk about two stops, we talk about the cars coming in around about lap 25, possibly lap 27, as race leader Rubens Barrichello puts a lap on Takuma Sato in the second of the two Jordans. He's in 14th place at the moment, so Barrichello lapped everyone up to and including 14th place. As I say, the two stoppers coming in around about lap 25 to 27 for the first stop, and the second stop around lap 50. We expect to see the one stoppers coming in sometime around about lap 43, possibly as late as lap 50 for the McLarens who did that last season. Lap 19 though, Michael Schumacher with that little bit of traffic has closed the gap down to just 1 second behind his teammate Rubens Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher still 3rd, Montoya is still 4th, Heidfeld is still 5th, and Coulthard still in 6th place. Lap 21 in the Austrian Grand Prix. What's going on here? One of the Minardis again having an incident. Alex Young there, just getting a little bit wide out of the last turn. Right, Rubens Barrichello still leading this race and very nearly collecting third place man Ralf Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello still leading this race on lap 21 by 1.4 seconds ahead of his teammate Michael Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher is third, Montoya is fourth, Heidfeld fifth and Coulthard sixth. And this is the race leader coming up to put a lap on Giancarlo Fisichella in 10th place. And here's a replay. Mark?
Well, you see Jacques Villeneuve come up the inside of Mika Salo on the start-finish line here. Got a little bit of a slipstream, a textbook move, low James, just straight underneath him. Salo doesn't put a fight up. He knows he's carrying a lot of fuel on board. Jacques took the advantage, uses all the road, off he flies.
Honda passes Toyota, but we wonder what strategies they're on. Ted, what can you tell us?
James, we were talking at the top of the show, weren't we, about whether one of the Ferraris was going to two-stop. Do you know, I've got a sneaky suspicion both of them are two-stopping. If you look at the times, they're now 32 seconds. Both cars are now 32 seconds ahead of the Williams. Now, that could be the Michelins on the Williams just dropping off. They might come in later. But I have a feeling, as the Ferraris now drop back to 10.4, one 10.4 and one 10.5 for their lap times, I just think both Ferraris could well be two-stopping this afternoon, and aren't they looking comfortable with it?
They look very quick indeed, Ted, and you could well be right. I mean, I said I think it would be one stop because they've got that clear advantage in performance, but they are so fast on the track, and with that 30-second gap already. Michelin's are just come into play with the Williams now. They're starting to lap the low 11s, but it's too late.
Well, let's compare the lap times. This is lap 23. Rubens Barrichello's last lap, a 1 minute 9.911. That's 0.2 of a second faster than his teammate, but 1.5 seconds a lap faster than Ralf Schumacher in the Williams and Juan Montoya in the other BMW Williams. Nick Heidfeld's lapping in the 1:12.5 bracket, as is David Coulthard in 6th place as we ride on board with Montoya, and that's a huge margin. You have to say the Ferraris are pushing very hard. It's been very difficult all weekend to get an indication of what kind of advantage they have in race trim, but judging by how close it was in qualifying yesterday, they certainly clearly aren't that much faster than the Williamses. They must be carrying a lighter fuel load, it's obvious.
Well, we'll soon see, James. There's not going to be many laps left before they'll have to come in for that first stop, so maybe another 6-7 laps at its best, and they should be in for the pit window.
What kind of difference are we talking about then? Well, typical one-stop fuel load, about just over 100 kilos, good enough to take you to deep into the 40s, perhaps 43, 44 laps of the race. Two stops, well, you'd start with about 65 kilos of fuel. That's a good 35 kilos less. I mentioned before that there's a huge advantage to carrying a lighter fuel load around, but of course you lose the time when you make the pit stop. You need about 26 seconds here to make a stop and rejoin in front of your rival as Rubens Barrichello gets a little bit locked up. We've got a fire. That's Olivier Panis in the BAR, and for the 6th time, he's right on the main straight as well. The marshal's not quite sure what to do. For the 6th time this season, he's not going to finish the race. It looks like his engine's blown up. You can see the huge skid marks down the middle of the track.
That is very strange. Yes, something's locked up there, obviously, James, because those tyre marks there and follow through the... Here we go, look. Yep, something's let go. Engine's let go. It's locked up the rear tyres. Completely dead they are. They're still big flames. Yeah, that's very tricky. Very lucky that it didn't hit that inside pit wall. That could have created a bigger problem there.
Well, a very bizarre lock-up and flame-out for the Honda engine in the back of that BAR. Some activity, though, down in the Ferrari garage. And I think one of the two cars is coming in. The race leader is coming in. It's Rubens Barrichello. Michael Schumacher now leads this race. And what about that for luck? Safety car comes out. The tyres are not ready for Rubens Barrichello, but they're going to try and recover the situation. Now we've got a safety car. Michael's queuing up as well, and this may well have something to do with the safety car. This could well be them tossing the coin in, and that might well prove to be an inspired move. And you saw just there, Jacques Villeneuve made his two-stop as well.
Jacques Villeneuve, I think the timing could be perfect for him to have a great result, but wasn't that interesting there? Michael Schumacher parking in line like they was at the supermarket.
And the Jordan's in as well. One of the two Jordans is in the pits. Trying to see who it is. It's Takuma Sato in the pits, also taking advantage of the safety car, and this is going to make things very interesting. Ted?
It was Olivier Panis's blow-up in the safety car that forced their hand, didn't it? Luckily for Ferrari, it was perfect timing for them. It fits in with them. McLaren, though, very interestingly, McLaren are also ready for one of their drivers. He's not come in yet. We don't know quite who it's for yet, but let's see. That's fascinating development.
Well, it's only going to be DC, Ted, at this stage, because you know Kimi's out from an earlier problem with his engine in the race. But this is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. There's a number of guys there still out on track, made track position, but the guys who have timed it perfectly with that safety car will come out on top by the end.
Well, it shows you just how fast you have to react in Formula One. You have to have your sums in your head and to be ready and to be thinking. Lightning fast reactions there from both Ferrari and BAR as soon as they saw Panis's car stranded in the middle of the track. They knew it would have to be a safety car. Far too dangerous on that 175-mile-an-hour main straight to be sending marshals out to try and move the car. And now we have a very interesting situation indeed, because the Ferraris are in the snake, and you can see out there the McLaren guys having quite some debate about what to do. They've gone back into the garage. It must be because they thought they had some sort of problem, I think, because we're only on lap 25 and McLaren were clearly looking as though they were going to go well into the deep lap 40s, perhaps even as far as lap 50 before making a stop. So nothing really in it for them to come in so early. They couldn't fuel the thing to the finish at this stage. Yeah,
it's a tough call for them. They obviously went with a full tank of fuel, anticipating up to a 45, 46 lap first stint. Going to be very difficult to them to make the end of the race bringing it in this early.
Actually, it is possible. Lap 26, it is possible to make it to the finish. If he had about 50 laps worth of fuel, it would have been very marginal, and that's obviously what the debate was.
Don't forget that he did the 50-lap stint last year at this race, because we had the yellow laps there and he leaned the thing right out. In ordinary circumstances, I'm not too sure they'd make that.
So no shortage of retirements already, and some rather self-satisfied looking Ferrari mechanics. Felipe Massa not looking quite so satisfied up on the Sauber timing stand. We've lost Olivier Panis to an engine blow-up. We've lost Felipe Massa to a broken suspension. Kimi Raikkonen, he retired with an engine blow-up as well. Benoldi had some damage from an incident on the first lap. And Pedro de la Rosa, we're not quite sure what happened to him. We think it was a throttle problem in the Jaguar. He's also out of the race. 17 cars still running. And now we feel that everybody still has one stop to make, so that's certainly put Ferrari, if there was any element of gamble in what they did today with their two-stop strategy, a very bold strategy indeed, and well, fortune favours the brave, they say. I'm not sure Ferrari needed too much fortune as we look again at Olivier Panis. A very strange incident.
Unusual, that, James. Don't see that very often, and it definitely put the wind up you, wouldn't it? If you're sitting there at 160, 165 miles an hour and all of a sudden the rear locks up, nothing you can do, you just got to try and steer your way out of it.
Better than your rear wing flying off, which is something we've seen the last Grand Prix with poor old Mark Webber and Kimi Raikkonen, rear wings flying off on the main straight.
Yeah, sure, but the other problem you've got there is you're a sitting duck. You know, I've been in that situation myself. You do not want to get collected, and very easily done.
Well, I remember you at Silverstone a few years ago in the rain, and you were in the middle of the track in the car. Safety car will come in at the end of this lap, and I think it was Senna and Andretti went either side of you at high speed, didn't they?
Yeah, I remember it very well, James. Thanks.
Just looking at the oil there, the telltale signs on the engine cover of the BAR. Cars dotted around. It's like a very expensive car park on the grass fringes of this racetrack. No overtaking allowed until the safety car comes in. And now we want to look at where everybody is in the snake behind the safety car. As we take another look again at the Ferrari pit stop. A little bit slow on the tyres, but obviously it was a very fast reaction. And that's pretty slick teamwork, considering it was a very, very quick decision, isn't it?
A very quick decision off the pit wall. Yes, it didn't have the tyres quite ready, but they soon got them out there. But the coolness of Schumacher sitting behind, just waiting for his stop as well. Something you don't see very often, but there you go. They made the decision and they went with it.
You sometimes see it when there's a deluge of rain. And you can see the McLaren mechanics were ready at that time as well. The safety car, we're told, is going to come in this lap. We will go racing. And looks like Barrichello at the front of the train. Michael Schumacher there as well. So that's worked out very nicely for Rubens Barrichello, hasn't it? Two lapped cars between himself and Ralf Schumacher, who is now in second place because Michael Schumacher had to wait for that for those tyres. So Ralf did jump in front of Michael. This was Michael coming in for his tyres, and obviously that little bit of a delay. That's the disadvantage of being second on the road at the time. Now, what can Ralf do from here? Everybody's got to stop once more, and he is in front of his brother The lights are out on the safety car. Rubens Barrichello has really dropped the pace off, and now he hits the gas, and now we start to race again through turn 8 and down to turn 9. No one's allowed to pass until they cross the start-finish line. A very smart restart tactic there by Rubens Barrichello. He's bought himself quite a bit of space because Michael Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher couldn't pass until they crossed that line, those two back markers, and now they can attack. Montoya, you see already, straight past one of the back markers in 4th place.
And Montoya is used to this situation, James, sitting behind his safety car. Obviously in American racing, there's a lot of that goes on. The format really was to keep the tyre pressures up, keep the car... Oh,
well,
something's off.
Accident. Yeah, it's one of the Saubers. It must be Nick Heidfeld's a big accident. Heidfeld flies off in the background, and he's been hit by one of the Jordans. I think it's Takuma Sato. Oh, that's huge damage. We've only just gone green here in Austria after a safety car period. Are we going to have another one, I wonder?
Well, it looks quite big, that. Yeah, it looks like the whole right side of Sato's car's missing. You can only think that maybe Heidfeld climbed over the top of him or just took that clean off, but yeah, big indeed.
Well, the general rule of thumb in Formula 1 is if the driver appears to be injured in any way, safety car, we believe, may be being deployed. I think Heidfeld has damaged one of his legs, looks like his right leg, and the safety car, there it is again coming out. What an eventful, that's the medical car coming out, the safety car on the left.
Let's just watch this, James. They were coming into that second corner. That corner there, that is big indeed.
I wonder whether he had some sort of brake failure or something, because he didn't seem to scrub much speed off. He's his own business and turning into the corner, and he gets collected by a very fast-moving Sauber, and we've had a McLaren reacting. Yes, David Coulthard has pitted during the safety car period, and we can see that the Williams team are down there as well. They're going to use this opportunity of a safety car period also to make their stop, and now on lap 29 we're certainly within the window of being able to make a stop and go to the finish.
It's a little bit strange that, James, because you see that they look like one of the Minardis there locked up very badly, a lot of smoke. Heidfeld's reacted, but it didn't lock his car up, did it? It looks like he didn't even get on those brakes. There was no smoke, there was no tyre marks, and the speed didn't decel at all. He just took Sato clean out. That would have been a big shock.
Well, he was carried away from his car by one of the marshals, but it seemed like he was standing up on his own there, leaning against the tyre barrier, Nick Heidfeld. But Takuma Sato, I'm afraid, is still in the car. We saw him waving his arms, so he was clearly conscious, but he's definitely taken a knock, and I just wonder whether he hasn't perhaps had one of the parts of suspension come through the side of the car, because it was very much the right-hand side of that Jordan that took the full brunt of the high-speed Sauber hitting it.
Yeah, side impact is probably one of the weaker points of a car when it's built, but there's been a lot of work over the past 12 months done on that. Again, we see
Montoya sitting in that car now having problems with his legs.
I can only believe that Heidfeld reacted to the amount of braking problem that Minardi was having. There doesn't seem any other explanation for that at all.
This is lap 30. We are once again under the safety car, and a lot of cars pouring into the pit lane to make their stops. They're realising that this is going to be a longish safety car period. Jarno Trulli is in, Villeneuve is in, so is Eddie Irvine, and so is Alex Young. So really only Montoya, Salo and Ralf Schumacher not stopped yet. You can see Professor Sid Watkins talking to Salo and just working with him. And, well, this safety car period is set to go on for a lap or two yet.
Had a lot of bad luck this year, and it looks like he could still very well be in that car, Darryl. He was taken out big time, but there for the grace of God would have gone Montoya, whoever was in the Williams, and the Minardi. I mean, it was just one of those things. But that's the thing that any driver dreads, is just turning into a corner and being taken out by somebody that's not your fault. Here you are minding your own business, and bang.
Huge impact, and I mean, it shows you how strong the tubs are, because obviously if anything's gone through, it's been the suspension parts that have pierced the bodywork and perhaps injured his legs. We don't know that, but just the force of that impact, I mean, just amazing how they get out and walk away from some of these things.
Well, I don't think one has so far, but I mean, these cars are enormously strong. The monocoque's now carbon fibre. As I've stated before, you can drop them off a 6-storey building and, you know, bolt the suspension back onto them almost. They are enormously strong. And that in itself can give a problem to the driver, because in the old days when the chassis used to give a little bit, that used to take a bit of the inertia away from the body of the driver. But now the chassis are that strong, they just don't give. so the driver's body takes a lot of the force. But that's not a good sign.
No, he's been here a long time, hasn't he?
And I don't like the way that guy's pumping up and down either.
No, that looks good. We might go back to Austria.
Apparently, either had a brake failure or something happened with his car that caused him not to scrub any speed up at all into turn 2. He came up over the grass bank and side-swiped the Jordan of Takuma Sato, and Professor Sidney Watkins and his medical team have been with Sato for the last 4 or 5 minutes, just extricating him from the car. We did see Sato waving his hands immediately after the incident, so we believe that he is conscious, but you can see there just being put onto the stretcher, and we all hope sincerely that he's okay. Eddie Jordan there, very worried team owner, up on the timing stand. Always anxious times, these, Mark.
Very difficult times, but you know, Professor Sid Watkins is a great guy, and I'm sure he'd do everything he can there. But hopefully, Takuma Sato is okay. We saw him wave his hands, as you said earlier, James, and you know, they've extradited him from the car, which is the main thing, and he'll be rushed to hospital to get him checked out.
Well, his car, certainly the right-hand side of his car, took a very serious impact from Nick Heidfeld as he went into that corner, and we hope he wasn't too badly hurt by anything coming into the cockpit. There's Nick Heidfeld, just reflecting on the incident. Seemed to have a little bit of an injury to one of his legs as well, was favouring one of them over the other just as he was standing there, but well, this is a sight we never like to see in Grand Prix racing. Sato's mother is here. One of many mothers have been flown in by the race organisers, as today is Mother's Day here in Austria, so I guess she'd rather be here than many thousands of miles away in Japan watching this on television, but she'd rather it wasn't happening at all. Mika Salo then into the pits. Most of the teams, most of the drivers have taken advantage of the 2 safety car periods to make fuel and tyre stops. Eddie Irvine with a problem there for Salo leaving the pit lane. It looked like he wasn't sure whether he was allowed to come back out again. He just hesitated before the pit lane exit line. Yeah,
I think he was just being a little bit precautionary there and not wanting to get tangled up with Eddie Irvine leaving the pit. But in light of what's going on and what's going on the racetrack, probably the best move, the safest way to run your exit from the pits.
Well, and you can just see there's a replay there of the incident. Sauber, not a great shot of it. And Sauber just hitting the side of the Jordan. We're hearing from our F1 ITV pit crew that the pit lane light was on. The red light was on. That's why Salo stopped, but then it went green again. And anxious mechanics waiting for news. And here's Juan Montoya. Well, he had much more close view of that incident than he would care to have had. But apparently his car undamaged. As the laps tick down, it's now lap 33 in this 71 lap race, and some more pit visitors. And Sarah Franson and Alan McNish in the Toyota.
Difficult as well, James, this point, the safety car out there. The guys have got to really concentrate on trying to keep the tyre pressures stabilised. You know, forgetting they've got that restart to do, and they need to make sure that they've got the car underneath them with the tyres at a sensible pressure to lay the hammer down, so to speak. But it's also a bit concerning if you're sitting in a race car as well and you've seen an incident like that. You know, there is at the back of your mind some feelings going through there just to think about the poor guy involved.
Problem here for Alan McNish though. Engine had stalled, started again now, and McNish a very long pit stop indeed. And that moment for Mika Salo, his teammate with the pit lane exit light, has cost him dearly. He's down in 12th place now, so lost a lot of ground as a result of that. "15 cars still in the field." We've lost Nick Heidfeld and Takuma Sato from the incident that we saw earlier on. We've seen many times, and I think we can see it again. Olivier Panis is also out. Felipe Massa, Kimi Raikkonen, who had an engine blow up, Benoldi and De La Rosa too, out of the race. And you can see Heidfeld, the brakes kicking out a lot of dust, if the brake disc has exploded.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he must have been on the brake road, but I'm a little bit miffed at that point. I can only hope that something went wrong.
That's the ambulance taking Takuma Sato. Then he's been extricated from the car. Professor Sid Watkins and his very, very professional medical team, who have done so much to raise the standards of the medical facilities at Grand Prix around the world. They take the same team everywhere with them. They go through a very detailed process on Thursday afternoon with the local medical officers and the stewards, showing them how to extricate drivers and the whole process that they go through. It's like a military discipline, which is exerted by Professor Watkins. And, well, hopefully Takuma Sato on his way to the medical centre to be checked over. Well, obviously, as soon as we know any news about his condition, we will let you know it. His manager, Andrew Gilbert-Scott, and his girlfriend are down at the medical centre. In fact, I can see Andrew Gilbert-Scott just out of our commentary box window down there below us, the medical centre, right on the pit lane entrance. This is Juan Montoya, who is currently in 4th place. And Mark, I'm looking on the computer. It says that neither Williams driver has made a pit stop, which, if everybody else thought it was the wise thing to do, and look at that cloud, just interrupt myself, look at that cloud on the left-hand side, that big black cloud, did you see that?
Yeah, the clouds look like they're rolling in, but I think there may be enough time for them to hold up and drop any rain here. But yeah, you're right, they haven't pitted yet. And what they would have been doing while all this has been going on with the safety car is leaning the engine out, making the fuel efficiency of the engine so that it got more laps under the belt from this tank of fuel, and that may pay off a little bit later into the race. It's definitely a situation which we saw David Coulthard do in last year's race, where he managed to make 50 laps on one tank of fuel.
Well, I'm just wondering how many laps we've had under the safety car, because if they were fueled to go to around about lap 50, it's 21 laps beyond that they would need to have fuel for. I wonder whether they're gambling that this might just be long enough. No, I don't think it will be, because the safety car is coming in this lap. So if that's the gamble that Williams have played, it would appear not to have worked. I have seen Williams mechanics out in the pit lane during these 2 safety car periods, but we've not seen them taking on fuel and tyres, and the computer we have in our commentary box is saying that neither of them have been in. So an interesting situation down here in the Williams pit. I wonder what they're thinking.
Well, whatever it is, they're doing it sitting down, because nobody's out in the pit lane. There's no rush to do anything at all at this stage, so definitely playing it cool. But you're right, we've seen that before and we've seen it pay off, but it may not work this time.
Big tail slide from Michael Schumacher, just trying to get some heat into his rear Bridgestone tyres. We saw Jacques Villeneuve and the 2 Ferraris on a 2-stop strategy here this afternoon, and these safety cars have certainly played to their advantage, no doubt about that. They've got to stop again, but they're in the same position as a lot of people. So we're interested now to see what David Coulthard can get out of this afternoon. He's benefited from being able to take on fuel recently during the safety car period. And it's going to be very interesting, the remainder of this race. This is lap 36. There's a piece of damaged carbon fibre out on the track there. We believe from our F1 ITV pit crew that we've had 8 laps under the safety car, so they'll have been able to save some fuel, but they use about just over 2 kilos of fuel a lap, 2.3 kilos in fact. So they'll save some, but not enough to get them to the finish. Lights are out though on the safety car. Rubens Barrichello still leading this race, and we will be going green very shortly, and you will have noticed that the sun appears to have gone in. The clouds are coming over, so much unpredictability about this Austrian Grand Prix. But Barrichello turns the wick up, and very shortly we'll be going green. Green lights are on the start-finish line, on board with Juan Montoya, and we're racing again at Zeltweg. Barrichello leading from Ralf Schumacher. Michael Schumacher's 3rd, Montoya 4th, 5th Coulthard, 6th Barrichello, 7th Villeneuve and Trulli, and there's a move. That's probably putting a lap on, I think. Indeed, one of the Renaults there, just getting past one of the two Minardis. At the front, though, very close, the closest they've been since the start of the race. Rubens Barrichello not been able to take the sort of advantage he did after the first restart.
Not quite, but he's now carrying the fuel load there as well. But it's a difficult time for the drivers. They've put every maximum effort in, and especially for Rubens, Michael tried to make that big buffer, and now they've got to go and do it all over again.
Yes, well, it's been a stop-start afternoon, but Rubens Barrichello already starting to exert himself. You can see the gap opening up over the second-place Williams car. And Michael Schumacher, the man with the headache now, because he's got to work out how to pass his brother. This is the order they started the race in. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Those were the grid positions, and we're back to where we started.
I think the man on the move is Villeneuve there. He definitely just tugged onto the back of Fisichella, and he might have a good enough run. He's making a move on him, James, down his front straight here. He's going the long way round. He's done it. He's done it. Very nice job.
Nice move then from Jacques Villeneuve up into 6th place. And he's rolled the dice this afternoon on race strategy. BAR team still yet to score a point in 2002. And Villeneuve very much planning to make this his afternoon. Neither BAR nor Jordan yet on the scoreboard this season. And there is a points-paying position available for one or other of them here this afternoon from the looks of things. Fisichella demoted to 7th, Villeneuve up to 6th now on the back of the gearbox of David Coulthard.
There may be points, but there may be something bigger in the offing in terms of engines for next year. And definitely BAR are the top contender to get those Hondas exclusively over Jordan.
Yes, a lot of talk about that in the paddock recently. BAR setting up a dedicated test team. There are rumours that they're taking on Mark Ellis, one of the senior engineers from the Jaguar team, to run that Honda test team at BAR, and just to strengthen those ties between themselves and Honda, to the disadvantage of Eddie Jordan and his team. And that certainly would leave Jordan in a difficult position trying to find an engine supply for next season. Now you see Villeneuve now climbing all over the back of David Coulthard. A real turn of speed from the BAR. And here is Eddie Irvine coming into the pits in the Jaguar. His teammate Pedro de la Rosa already out of the race, and it doesn't look like this is a scheduled stop. He's going to have to park the car.
The engine's already cut that. There's no red light indicating the pit lane limiters being activated, but Jacques Villeneuve is on the move. But the big issue as well is for Michael Schumacher with his brother Ralph. He doesn't have that top line speed. Ralph Schumacher's on a light fuel load still. We still believe they haven't been into the pit, and he's got to get by him sooner rather than later.
Yes, they're completely out of sequence in terms of race strategy. They're doing completely different things. It's going to be very hard for them both to read each other. And what happens next? We're 39 laps into this race, and Michael Schumacher desperately trying to get past his brother Ralph. Rubens Barrichello, we understand, and Michael Schumacher on a similar strategy. But Rubens just wants to win this race. He doesn't mind who finishes second behind him.
Yeah, this is going to be frustrating for Michael Schumacher. They're sitting there. He knows that Rubens is pulling away bit by bit. Rubens is putting in 1 minute 10.963 lap there compared to Michael Schumacher's 11.4. He's travelling in his brother's dirty air. That's not a good thing.
Yes, he is indeed. Hopefully we'll see Michael feeling the need to put a move on his brother. Peter Sauber there, perhaps forgiven for having his mind elsewhere at the moment. Down at the medical centre, still waiting for news of Takuma Sato, the Jordan driver, injured in that incident a few laps ago. But the race goes on at the front of the field. Behind the top three, Juan Montoya still 1.8 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. Coulthard 3.5 seconds behind Montoya. Villeneuve right behind David Coulthard and lapping very quickly at the moment in the BAR. Fisichella just behind Villeneuve. Trulli in the Renault 8th. Button, his teammate, 9th. Sarlo still 10th. And here's a replay of Frentzen.
Just a little bit of overrun there on the exhaust of Frentzen coming into the corner. Just so they downshift, just burns up some extra fuel. Nothing much to it.
Well, we have had a couple of engines let go here this afternoon. Spectacularly, Olivier Panis and the Honda blew up on the main straight. And earlier on, Kimi Räikkönen had an engine blow up in the McLaren-Mercedes. And we've just been handed a notice from the race organisers that Jacques Villeneuve was involved in a collision with car number 20. That's Heinz-Harald Frentzen. That's at the start of the race, in fact, and he's been imposed a drive-through penalty. So a penalty for Villeneuve, the man in the frame you see there. Well, that's actually Eddie Jordan walking through the frame, but we believe that Villeneuve's going to have to do a drive-through penalty. Well, he's already stopped twice. I wonder whether he's already served it. He has already served it. Interesting. So a little bit late notification that from the race stewards.
As long as he served his penalty there, James, he's actually overtaken David Coulthard up to 5th place. He is a man on the move. How long he can sustain that for will be interesting to see, but BA are desperate for those points.
They are indeed, but Villeneuve suddenly competitive for BAR, and Coulthard, well, it's been a torrid weekend for the McLaren teams. Nothing massively wrong with their car and engine package, just not competitive to the standard that they like to see and everybody else is used to seeing. As Eddie Jordan goes to visit Sid Watkins for an update on his driver Takuma Sato. But the fact that Sid is there in the car hopefully gives us some positive signals about Takuma's condition.
I definitely hope so. Obviously Sid's going to be needed on for the rest of the race, but it's a positive sign indeed. Of course, Eddie Jordan wants to know what's going on, and rightly so.
Lap 42, and that's the sole remaining Jordan in the race of Giancarlo Fisichella, now in 7th place, as Sid Watkins explains what he saw to Eddie Jordan. And well, Villeneuve really has surprised us all this afternoon by his strategy and by his speed and performance. There's the two Renaults. Haven't seen too much of them this afternoon, but Jarno Trulli is ahead of Jenson Button now, having qualified well behind him on the grid. So Jenson's had a difficult afternoon, and he's now in 9th place at the moment.
I'm just wondering whether there's something actually wrong with David Coulthard, James, because it looks like his lap time's backed off considerably. He's down in the 1:13s, and Giancarlo Fisichella is catching him up very quickly indeed.
Indeed he is, as Eddie Jordan and Peter Sauber, the owners of the two cars involved in that huge collision a few laps ago, but judging by the expressions, they give us hope as well. And Fisichella looking at the back of Coulthard, and Trulli looking at the back of Fisichella. Two unlucky Italians so far this season, Fisichella and Trulli. Neither of them scored a point yet, and both of them within sniffing distance of one in the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th place.
And Button's on the back of that battle as well. He's only another 3 or 4 tenths behind, and if something goes on there with a move, he could be collecting 2 or 3 positions as well.
Yes, already a point scorer this season, Jenson Button. And the Renault team was 4th in Malaysia, 4th in Brazil and 5th in San Marino, but Trulli, his teammate, yet to get on the scoreboard. Lap 44 though, 2.1 seconds between Rubens Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher in 2nd place. Michael Schumacher seems to have accepted his fate and seems to be waiting to see what Williams are going to do in terms of pit strategy, but does he still believe he can win this race? Does he still believe that Rubens Barrichello is beatable? It's difficult to see it at the moment. He doesn't seem to be pushing all that hard. Montoya 4th, 5th is Villeneuve, and still 6th, David Coulthard. And hopefully we'll have some news of Takuma Sato's condition right after this.
At this moment in time, they can't see it. I mean, I didn't go through the whole detail. I just wanted to know his general condition was stable, and he was fine, and he actually said it's far better than that.
Thanks, EJ.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Eddie. Well, that is absolutely remarkable, and hallelujah to that. Takuma Sato appears to have escaped that horrible accident without any injury at all. That's great news. Lap 47 though, we're looking at Mark Webber diving into the pits. This is to serve a drive-through penalty. He ignored some blue flags a few laps ago. Oh, look at this, Mark. This is the European, the sister car, in fact, blowing up big time.
Yeah, it locked up the rear wheels again. We've seen so many engines let go, and all in a similar position today. And this is also Trulli here in the Renault, slowing down drastically, starts to pull over across the racetrack. Yeah, really, he should park that thing. That's the end of his day.
Yeah, Jarno Trulli car letting go, and Trulli actually parked that in a slightly awkward place. It was just on the inside of the apex of turn 1, but the marshals have moved it, and there's Ralf Schumacher, second place, into the pits. Ted.
Ralf Schumacher comes in for his first stop. What Williams have been able to do, and it's a very clever game, is lean out the car and let it go long. They're on a one stop anyway, but I think Ferrari may well have to stop again this afternoon, which means that Williams might well be in the driving seat after all.
Well, they might be in the driving seat relative to Michael Schumacher, but Rubens Barrichello was a few seconds ahead, quite a few seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher anyway. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether Williams can hoist Ralf Schumacher up into second place, but maybe first place might be a bit difficult for them.
Well, just wait and see. Definitely what we mentioned earlier seems to have been paying off in some respects there. Yes, the safety car was out. They leaned out their engine. They got a little bit more fuel mileage, and it's playing very nicely at this stage. But you're right, James. Barrichello might have it all on hand.
Well, Ralf Schumacher has rejoined in front of Giancarlo Fisichella, who was in 6th place, as Jarno Trulli, you see, walking in there after that car broke down. And this has really been a tough season for Jarno Trulli, hasn't it? He's had 4 retirements, only 2 finishes, a 9th place and a 10th place. And whilst his teammates been making hay, Trulli has been really struggling. Jenson Button in the sister Renault, though, still going in 8th place.
Jenson Button's putting together some very tidy laps at this stage, just trying to climb on the back of David Coulthard. They're about 8 tenths in it at this point, but it wouldn't be too far before he's there on the back of his gearbox.
Well, this is Juan Montoya, still hasn't made a pit stop. We're on lap 49. Interesting to see what Williams are trying to do here this afternoon, but looks to me as though Montoya is going to fall prey to at least Jacques Villeneuve. And, well, he'll have the question whether he can get out in front of Giancarlo Fisichella in the Jordan, who's currently in 6th place. So I'm not sure that this strategy is working all that brilliantly at the moment for the Williams team, but they've got a long way to go in this motor race, and still several cars, including the 2 Ferraris, yet to make another pit stop.
Yeah, Montoya's lapping 1 minute 10.4. He's in the ballpark in lap time with the Ferraris, but you're right, that gap's too big at this moment in time.
Jacques Villeneuve showing 2 pit stops on the computer, but we know that one of them was for a drive-through penalty for the incident he caused with Heinz-Harald Frentzen on lap 1. So we believe that Villeneuve has only had 1 short fuel visit, which was earlier on in the race, around about mid-lap 20 range. So he's going to have to stop again as well. Montoya, though, in real terms, is 4th in this race. Barrichello, in real terms, is 1st. And the battle, the really intense battle, is between Michael Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher. Michael Schumacher currently in 2nd place. Ralf Schumacher down to 5th place now as a result of that pit stop on the last lap. But Michael yet has to stop again. And Ralf Schumacher is 29 seconds behind his brother. Now, by my calculation, Mark, you need 26 seconds to make a pit stop and still maintain position. So at the moment, Michael Schumacher in the driving seat in that battle. Yep,
I'm sure you're right. And Michael, if you watch there, is doing a 1 minute 9.9 now, James. He's just starting to put the pressure on, dropping in those consistent lap times, and he's the fastest man on the racetrack at this point.
Juan Montoya, currently running 3rd, scored points in every single Grand Prix so far this season. But here's the race leader. We haven't seen much of him recently, but he's been having a very good afternoon indeed, Rubens Barrichello. Lots of stopping and starting. We've had 2 safety car periods here. And Montoya starting to put the hammer down. You can see he's really hanging the back out here. And his pit stop must be imminent, I would think, in the next few laps. No sign yet from the Williams garage of Montoya making a stop, but he's certainly putting the hammer down, which would indicate he's going to be pitting in the not-too-distant future. Rubens Barrichello having a terrific afternoon, Mark. He came here full of confidence, new 2-year contract. Stuck it on pole yesterday, fastest in the warm-up today, and he's keeping it so far together. This is lap 51, 20 to go.
He is indeed, but Michael Schumacher again goes a little bit quicker. A couple of more attempts, and 1 minute 9.743. Steadily he's closing that gap down to Rubens Barrichello.
3.1 seconds, the gap now between Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. You're looking, though, at Jacques Villeneuve, who's still in 4th place, having BAR's best afternoon of the season, no doubt about it. And that's the Williams pit crew ready for Juan Montoya, currently in 3rd place. Where will he rejoin? Who will he be in front of? Well, it's going to be very close with his own teammate, actually. He's 24 seconds in front of Ralf as he comes into the pits. Can they get him back out in front of his teammate? and certainly can they get him back out in front of Giancarlo Fisichella. Didn't change the tyres, you notice. Very quick fuel stop. Where's Ralf Schumacher? Coming out of the final corner now as Montoya goes up the pit lane painfully slowly, 120 kilometres an hour. Ralf Schumacher goes beneath us. You'll see him any moment now on your screens. There he is, that's Ralf Schumacher, and Montoya is in third, he's in front. Montoya up to third, ahead of his teammate Ralf Schumacher. And what's Ralf going to think about that?
He's not going to be a happy boy, is he? But the problem is now Montoya's got to get up to speed very quickly indeed. Ralph's got Montoya in his sights. He want to get past him, won't he? Eh?
Well, they didn't take any chances taking the wheels off. They left the tyres on, didn't want any chance that a wheel nut might stick. All they were concerned about was that fuel hose. Get it on and get it off as quick as possible. It was under 7 seconds, a fantastic stop by the Williams crew.
Yeah, Montoya picked the harder Michelin tyre. We know they've got the durability. They didn't want any issues. They didn't need any more tyres put on the car. The car's running the fastest it's been during the whole race. He was down in the low 1 minute 10s. But Ralf will be after him. Yes,
should clarify, Ralf Schumacher chose the softer of the two Michelin options for qualifying on the race yesterday, and they've been a little bit temperamental. That's Jacques Villeneuve, who's been promoted by that pit stop of Juan Montoya up into third place. And can he make this stick? That would be very interesting. There's Takuma Sato. Looks like he's been sedated, but he's in the medical helicopter, obviously going off for observation at the main helicopter, the main hospital, which presumably will be in Graz, the town near here.
Yeah, he's probably going to have to have an overnight stay or a couple of nights there just to keep an eye on him, but hopefully everything is okay. It's a good sign he's been in the medical centre. Now they feel they need to take him away.
He's a tough guy, Takuma Sato. Started out his career actually as a long-distance cyclist. Did a lot of cycle racing in Japan and in Europe as well. And his eyes are open, aren't they? Charming guy, Takuma Sato, and it's so good to see him escape from that horrible accident with Nick Heidfeld, apparently unharmed.
Yep, tough accident, but a testimony again to the guy's fitness. That will stand him in good stead. His recovery hopefully will be very soon. Let's go down to Louise in the pits.
Yeah, just been keeping an eye on proceedings down at the medical centre. We've seen Takuma Sato being put into the helicopter. He's going to fly off to the hospital in Graz. I've just had a word with Andrew Gilbert-Scott, his manager, who confirmed what Eddie had already told us. It doesn't appear that there are any injuries, but obviously they want to have him thoroughly checked over, so they're going to fly him to hospital in Graz to do that. The news on Nick Heidfeld good as well. Joseph Leber, his trainer's had a chat with me. Nick's got bruising to his left leg. They don't think it's broken, but he's also going to go to Graz just for a check-up.
Jacques Villeneuve then making a stop. Thanks for that, Louise. Jacques Villeneuve making his third stop of the day, but second for fuel and tyres. He had a drive-through penalty as well. And so the two-stop strategy of Jacques Villeneuve appeared to have done a lot of favours for him, but in fact, it's now dropped him down behind Jenson Button. And so Villeneuve is now in 8th place. And we believe that all the cars in front of him, apart from the two Ferraris, do not have to stop again. So a slightly costly experience for Jacques Villeneuve, but he certainly, well, he looks spectacular, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks spectacular, but the main issue what we've got now, Barrichello has understood what's going on. He's put the hammer down again, just opened up the gap to 3.6 seconds against Michael Schumacher, and Montoya as well, realising he's got everything to go for, is now a gap to 1.4 seconds with Ralf.
Well, they're still lapping about a second a lap off the pace of the Ferrari at the moment. They're carrying more fuel though. The Ferrari is burning down the fuel, and the two Ferraris came in on lap 24 for Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, because we saw Michael queuing up as Takuma Sato goes off to Graz, the nearest town, in the helicopter, the medical helicopter. So as the fuel load gets very low in the Ferrari, they're lapping about a second faster than the two Williamses. And how much can they gain? Currently, Barrichello 37 seconds ahead of Montoya on the road. He'll need 26 to make a stop. Michael Schumacher is 3 seconds behind him, so even he should be able to pit and rejoin a few seconds ahead.
And Sato needs to go to the hospital to get a thorough check-up, but Rubens Barrichello sticks one of the arrows there underneath him. Another lap put by, and Michael Schumacher's responded again with a 1 minute 9.4 fastest lap. He is chasing Barrichello down.
He certainly is. He wants to win this race just as badly as Barrichello does. Barrichello may be chasing win number 2 and Michael win number 58. But he's just as competitive as he ever was. And even though this weekend hasn't really been his weekend, he'll probably view it that if he can come away from here with 6 points, or maybe even 10 points, with the 2 Williamses behind him, he won't be unhappy about that, Michael Schumacher.
Well, interesting, we're getting into the later stages of the race, James, and we haven't seen anything like team orders at this point, have we? So it looks like it's all fair and square, and Rubens could do the job.
Well, good point, Marky. This is a scenario that we've yet to see. This time last year, at this very racetrack, Rubens Barrichello was on for a podium position, 2nd place, and was asked to move over, because at that time David Coulthard was winning the race, Michael Schumacher's main championship rival, and Ferrari believed that Schumacher needed all the points he could get. But at the moment, with a big margin at the top of the World Championship, and the fact that Rubens Barrichello actually going for a win rather than just points, one's tempted to think that they might just let him stay out there and claim the win. As he dives up the inside, Michael Schumacher of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Frentzen, after an incident-filled race, is down in 11th place, which is where he started on the grid. But you have to say, if he hadn't had those incidents, a spin and a nerf from Jacques Villeneuve, he would have been a lot higher up the field. He would, in fact, in my reckoning, he would probably have been 5th or 6th.
I think you're quite right. The Arrows has been running very well over the course of the weekend. Heinz-Harald Frentzen definitely got the bit between his teeth, qualifying very strong. Yeah, it's been unfortunate during the race, and it's taken the edge off his race now. It doesn't look like there's much left in there for him to progress. But getting to the end of this race, we've clearly seen there's been a lot of people dropped out, still could pick him up the result.
Barrichello sets a new fastest lap. I wonder if we're getting close to the 2nd round of pit stops. No sign of any action down in the Ferrari garage. We do believe that they both have to stop again. In fact, we're pretty sure they both have to stop again. But we don't know how much fuel was on board that Ferrari in the early stages. They took advantage of the first safety car period to stop on lap 24, and that was some 33 laps ago. So they obviously had a reasonable amount of fuel in that car at the start.
They did indeed, and an outstanding pace to be carrying that level of fuel. But the big battle at the moment, Coulthard, Button, Villeneuve, they're circling within a second of each other. Looks like excitement on the horizon.
Yeah, and Fisichella just in front of them. This is that battle. That's the tail of it. Button and Villeneuve, and you can see the French-Canadian, who's been out of the points for such a long time now, desperate to get back into them. Villeneuve currently lying 8th, ahead of him 7th place Button, 6th place Coulthard, and 5th place Fisichella, giving Eddie Jordan something to smile about, but Villeneuve's not going to get on that way, is he?
Well, it's the old Villeneuve, isn't it? It looks like a world champion, what we saw in 1997. He's really going for it. I would like to see the BAR collect some points, and a healthy amount of that. But yeah, driving outstandingly, but he really is throwing that car around. See him come off turn 1 there, all 4 wheels over, and a little bit more.
This is the battle for 5th place. That's Fisichella in the foreground, ahead of Coulthard. Surprising, really, that the Jordan drivers managed to get ahead of the McLaren. You wouldn't have expected that, certainly, given that Fisichella qualified in 15th place for this race. David Coulthard qualified 8th. And really, all season, the McLaren has been a much faster car than the Jordan.
It has, but Fisichella has been also very quick in a number of places, also been running with some bad luck, and I think just putting the car through its paces here. But again, that battle between Honda engine cars of Jordan and BAR, it's still not finished, and this race could have a very positive or negative outcome come the end of it.
Yes, there's still an awful lot to play here in Austria, play for. Fisichella, another to take advantage of the safety car period. He came in on lap 24. So we don't know whether he has to stop again. I'm sure he's hoping he doesn't, but at the moment he's lapping at a very, very good pace indeed in the Jordan, and keeping David Coulthard behind him in the sole remaining McLaren. We lost Kimi Raikkonen earlier on with a blown engine. And there's the Toyota of Mika Salo.
Mika Salo's having a little bit of a lonely drive. He was up there in contention in that top 8 cars at the beginning of the race. Got slightly caught out of the safety car scenario in the pit stops, but looks like he's climbing onto the back of that pack.
A super slow-mo close-up of Rubens Barrichello, turning 30 next week, and he was saying on Thursday it's a strange feeling because everything he's ever done in his life, he's always been the youngest. He's always been the youngest guy to go into Brazilian karting, the youngest guy to win there, the youngest guy to come into Formula Vauxhall and Formula 3. And he was a kid, wasn't he, when he came over to Europe? raced in Formula 3 at the age of 17, 18, then made it into Formula 1 at the age of 20, and suddenly to find himself on the verge of turning the big 3-0 is a curious feeling.
Been there, done that, so you don't have to worry.
Now then, at the top of the screen, you can see Barrichello putting a move on McNish, and the Ferrari mechanics are coming out into the pit lane. So, how is this going to play out? Well, I don't think either of the two Ferraris are under threat from Montoya in third place. What it really boils down to here, folks, is a pit stop, is a little mistake or a slow in lap or a slow out lap going to be enough to swap the order? There is Michael Schumacher in second place. Rubens Barrichello is 4.4 seconds ahead of him, and that's enough time. You can lose that in a pit stop.
Well, let's see who comes in first, because obviously if Barrichello does come in and Michael Schumacher's got enough fuel to stay up there for a couple more laps and can increase the margin in lap time to make up it, it might all pan out when he comes back on the racetrack after his stop.
Just waiting to see which of the two drivers is going to make the stop. It's very calm down in the Ferrari garage. They know what's expected of them. They've done it many, many times before. Rubens dives into the pit lane. The race leader comes in for his second stop of the afternoon, and he wants so badly for everything to be perfect now. Fuel goes in, clean connection, all the wheels are off, all the wheels and tyres are on. It's clockwork, no other word for it. 6.2 seconds for Rubens Barrichello. Michael Schumacher has taken the lead in the meantime, but we believe he still has to stop again as well, and the Ferrari mechanics are staying in position. They've changed fuel hoses, they've got some new tyres and wheels ready, and they've got to do it all over again for Michael Schumacher. He's 40 seconds, I beg your pardon, ahead of Juan Montoya. Schumacher, so he should be able to rejoin safely, but has he been able to do anything on this? It's not really long enough, is it? One lap. Not much he can do about it.
No, there's not much. He needs a few more laps out there to make any impression. As you rightly said, it looks like they're staying out there. They look like they're going to get ready for Michael to come in. It's not going to make the difference we thought.
It's always a bit strange when teammates race against each other, because they know each other's strategy, and the team doesn't really want to outwit itself, does it? He might have thought, give me a bit more fuel than Rubens Barrichello in the first stop, but he didn't do that. Here he is, though, from position 2, and Ted is down there.
Yeah, James, Michael Schumacher comes into the pit. Haven't Ferrari shown an amazing level of dominance here? Michael was only about 2, maybe 2.5 seconds behind Rubens, but I don't think he can make it up. I think this is Rubens Barrichello's day. Michael is slightly slow away, but he's on his way now.
Barrichello exits the final corner and comes down the pit straight. It's a very similar scenario to the one we saw just before with the two Williams drivers, but this time, comfortably, Rubens Barrichello maintains his lead. And Michael Schumacher maintains second place, and we are now on lap 63 of this 71-lap race. And Marky Boy, are we going to see Rubens Barrichello's second career victory?
Wasn't it interesting? Even Michael Schumacher's pit stop was just that fraction slow, wasn't it? 6.4 compared to 6.2 for Rubens, and that's how it's been all weekend long.
It has been the story of the weekend. He's been threatening to do it for a long time, Rubens Barrichello, but he's now, well, he can almost touch the checkered flag. He's 7 laps away from it. Michael Schumacher down into second place. Montoya's still third. Ralf Schumacher's fourth. Fisichella is still fifth for Jordan. And Coulthard, where he's been all afternoon, in sixth in the McLaren. Seven laps to go in the Austrian Grand Prix of 2002. We have a Ferrari leading the race, but it's not Michael Schumacher, it's Rubens Barrichello, and he's 3.7 seconds ahead of his teammate. He's really had the edge over him throughout the weekend, it's fair to say, and today, as through the last 2 days, Michael Schumacher has not really been able to respond to the pace of his young Brazilian teammate. Well, they all look pretty happy down there in the Ferrari garage, but it's not what we've been used to. Louise is down in the pits. What can you tell us?
Well, I've just been to have a word with Sauber Technical Director Willie Ramp to see if he can give us any idea what actually happened. Why did Nick Heidfeld career across the track and into Takuma Sato? What Nick has told the team is that when he hit the brakes, they locked. Now, they don't know really whether it was a failure, was it a driver error? They don't know until they have a chance to analyse the data and look more carefully at it. But that seems that that's what caused the problem.
Well, it's interesting, Louise, but the situation was that we didn't really see the tyres locking as such. There wasn't that great deal amount of smoke coming off, as you saw at the Minardi on the left-hand side, which I presume he took avoiding action to get round. Certainly something went wrong there. It's an unusual situation, unusual thing to happen.
This is the battle for 5th place we've been enjoying for the last 15 or 20 laps. Giancarlo Fisichella is 5th, Coulthard is 6th, Button is 7th, and Jacques Villeneuve is 8th. I nearly said Gilles Villeneuve there, and a lot of talk about him this weekend in the paddock, because this weekend the 20th anniversary of Gilles Villeneuve's death at Zolder, the Belgian Grand Prix of that year, 1982. And Jacques Villeneuve also the subject of a lot of discussion about his future. Will he stay at BAR? Will he sling his hook and go somewhere else? If so, where can he go? Because certainly his salary, rumoured to be around the £10 million a year mark, is going to be a bit high for British American racing to stump up again next season, now that David Richards is running the team and not Craig Pollock, who was also Villeneuve's manager.
And you're quite right, but I'm led to believe that he's actually got a fixed contract there. That's what I've been told, and there won't be any issues about Jacques Villeneuve going anywhere else. At this moment in time, he's driving a great race. What I'm just thinking about more importantly, and we touched it earlier, is this is about the time last year where Rubens had to make that little move across. And that must be in the back of his mind.
Well, I think that would be very cruel. I really hope and pray that that's not going to happen. The championship position being the way it is at the moment, with Michael Schumacher on 46 points and his nearest challenger being Juan Montoya on 23 points, you have to say that it would be a very harsh decision by Ferrari sporting director Jean Todt if he pulled Rubens over. But Michael's trying to do it for himself. Set the fastest first sector on that last lap. He's now 3.4 seconds behind his teammate. He's running out of laps in which to attack, though. But Ralf Schumacher certainly seems to want to do something about his teammate, Juan Montoya. This is the battle for 3rd place. And, well, he's halved the gap. He's taken half a second off him in that last lap. So is Montoya in trouble? Are his tyres going off? Or is Ralph just really putting the hammer down in these closing stages?
Well, we know that he didn't change tyres in that pit stop. He is on the harder tyre, the Michelin. Ralf Schumacher's got the softer tyre on. He's getting towards the end of the race now, and maybe just losing a little bit too much grip. And you rightly said, Ralph took half a second out. That's a big chunk on the race lap.
Meanwhile, this battle for 5th continues. A lot of stories to be settled, a lot of scores to be settled as well here this afternoon. It's been an extraordinarily eventful Austrian Grand Prix. We had a collision between Jacques Villeneuve and Heinz-Harald Frentzen on the first lap. We had retirements for Enrico Benoldi, Pedro de la Rosa early on, and Kimi Raikkonen, whose engine blew up on lap 6. We saw Felipe Massa have a suspension failure. Then Frentzen spun but managed to continue. Panis's engine blew up, causing the car to be stuck right in the middle of the start-finish straight. That brought out the first safety car period of the afternoon. A lot of cars poured into the pits to make their stops as Michael Schumacher sets a new fastest lap as he closes the gap now to 2.5 seconds between himself and Rubens Barrichello. The safety car came in, and almost immediately we had this huge collision between Nick Heidfeld's Sauber and Takuma Sato's Jordana. Very, very nasty accident indeed, from which amazingly both drivers escaped, and we're very, very glad to hear that. So the safety car was out again as as Montoya locks his front wheel. We finally restarted the race for the second time on lap 37. We've had a few cars dropping out, we've had a few more pit stops, but the upshot of it all has been that once again Ferrari have had the competitive package here at Austria. It was expected that Williams would be closer to them, and indeed they have been, but simply not close enough, Mark.
Not close enough, but interestingly what's going on now, Rubens Barrichello, 1 minute 10.2 the last lap, 1 minute 9.2 for Michael Schumacher. He's closed the gap significantly.
This is lap 70, we're within a few miles of the finish. And is Rubens just slowing up for a formation finish? Is that man there, Ross Brawn, telling Rubens Barrichello he has to pull over? What is going to happen in this next lap and a bit? Surely not. Surely they can't put the team orders out.
Well, let's wait and see. I certainly hope not. I think Rubens Barrichello deserves a merit to win this race. He's had an outstanding weekend, as we've rightly said, but Michael is going to push him all the way to the end.
He is. He's going to try and make his teammate possibly make a mistake, or even make him think that maybe team orders are going to kick in. But Ralf Schumacher also harrying his teammate, Juan Montoya. And Ralf Schumacher just looking over to his right there, just looking at something. Must have caught his eye. There's still a battle for 5th place. Fisichella, Coulthard, Button and Villeneuve. But I must ask you, Mark, who's your driver of the day? A number of different candidates. Obviously, Barrichello, Michael Schumacher's driven well. Montoya's done well to get himself up in front of his teammate. Fisichella's done outstandingly well to get himself into 5th. But who deserves driver of the day today?
That's an easy choice for me, James. Rubens Barrichello's got to be the driver of the day. I think he's just done an excellent job. Yes, it's not over, but we're on the final lap, and I'm sure that everything's going to come together for him. I think under the amount of pressure he's had, especially over the season gone by, nobody could ask for more from the guy. I think, for me, driver of the day.
Ted, what can you tell us?
I'm sure it doesn't mean anything, James, but I've just seen Jean Todt pass a little note across the pit wall to Ross Brawn. I'm sure they're not going to do it again. I'm sure they're not going to make Rubens to pull over. But, well, anyway, there you go. Back to you.
Maybe he's just writing him a little love letter or saying, you go up to the podium this time, Ross. Because Jean Todt certainly does share out the honours to emphasise what a team Ferrari is. As does Ron Dennis at McLaren and Frank Williams as well. They all like to emphasise just what a team effort it is to win in Formula One. And this team has been superlative. All weekend, topping the timesheets. The two Toyotas are in front of them. He won't have time to lap them before he comes through to cross the start-finish line for the final time. It doesn't look as though there's going to be any team orders here, and nor should we ever really have believed there would be. Oh, he's getting very close to Michael Schumacher, but Rubens Barrichello comes through. He's not going to let Michael through, is he? No, they're going to... Yes, he is! No! I do not believe it! I do not, Adam and Eve, what is going on? Michael Schumacher wins the Austrian Grand Prix. He doesn't deserve to win it. That is outrageous.
Oh, I'm gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. That is not possible, and I can't believe it's even allowed. Well, Rubens Barrichello's got to be the toughest guy in my book, because if he can take that standing up, he's a better man than me.
I do not believe it. And Villeneuve's blown up. Villeneuve in 8th place. Well, he's certainly given that Honda engine something to think about this afternoon. But what? How can they possibly explain that? And what will Rubens say? He's waving to the crowd. Maybe he's proved his point.
He's still man of the day, and he's still the winner of that race for me, James. And I tell you, we talked about it. No, we didn't think it would happen, but it did.
Well, you were looking at me when I was saying I'm sure they can't do this. Maybe it was the naivety in me and the hard-bitten cynicism of many years as a Grand Prix driver of you, Mark. You didn't believe it until you saw it, but, well, Michael Schumacher had a healthy enough lead in the World Championship. He's on 44 points before this race. His nearest challenger was Juan Montoya, 23 points, so a full 21 points behind, and Montoya finishing 3rd today, collecting only 4 points. And yet they've gone and done the switch. Ted saw the piece of paper being passed between Todd and Brawn, and that, my friends, is the result. And the crowd is whistling and booing underneath us. They don't like it at all, and I have to say I don't blame them. This is a real turn-up for the books here. We're going to be talking about this a long, long time into the evening, and a very strange end to what's been a very eventful afternoon.
I think that's the most bloody disgraceful thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm the biggest Schumacher fan in the world, but that he should have balls enough to move aside and let him in. That's just dreadful. Stand by for the national anthem. Schumacher said to him down when he got out of the car, you stand on the #1 spot. That's what's happened.
Well, why didn't he tell him to take the #1 spot?
Exactly.
I mean, at the end of the day, Jean Todd's obviously come over the radio and said we're going to get Barrichello to pull over. Just wait for this.
I'll tell you what, they're going to talk about this one, AJ, for a while. The crowd were all putting their thumbs down.
I know. Look, it's a hard one. I mean, at the end of the day, as I was saying, before the national
He's
anthem
giving him the trophy. Look, he's giving him the trophy.
Yeah, but he hasn't got the cheque or the points. At the end of the day, when Jean Todt came over at the radio, he would have said to him, listen, we're going to tell Rubens to slow down. You take number one. That's when I think Schumacher, in all honesty, probably should have said, no, look, he's deserved it all weekend. He's been quicker in qualifying. He's got pole position. This is his race. I'm going to let him have it.
Well, that happened in your career. I mean, there were drivers who refused to give way for you under instruction.
Yeah, my word, there was.
That cost you a championship.
Well, yeah,
Maybe.
but I mean, maybe. But, you know, like you can understand also Ferrari. I mean, this is an opportunity to make Schumacher the five times world champion. It's never been done except for the great Fangio. And I guess Jean Todt is just saying, hey, look, any opportunity we can grab to make him 5 times world champion, we've got to do it. And Rubens just signed a contract the other day that takes him up until the end of 2004. So maybe part of the contract is he's got to obey orders and move over, which he quite clearly did.
Well, I tell you what, don't go to bed yet. Watch the press conference that's coming up shortly. It's going to be very, very interesting. This bloke has had to concede to him 3 times now.
I was very impressed with him all weekend. He was quicker in free practice, quickest in qualifying, and had his edge on him in the race. And I think he really did deserve the win. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I've never seen a crowd do that. It was they're all standing up there with their thumbs down out of that huge grandstand that we saw during the race. And Schumacher has made sure he stood in the middle the whole time that they've been on that podium.
But what about the controversy that raged after Albert Park when Hakkinen, David Coulthard conceded to Hakkinen, and there was all this business about they were going to stop them from doing that? Well, there's the results. Michael Schumacher winning from his teammate Rubens Barrichello. Montoya over his teammate Schumacher. Fisichella 5th, David Coulthard 6th, picking up 1 point from McLaren. Drivers' Championship, well, Schumacher consolidates 54 over Montoya's 27. Ralf Schumacher 23, Barrichello in 4th with 12, David Coulthard 5th, Jenson Button in 6th position.